The great crystal dome of Nexus Prime stretched high above the gathering aliens. Inside the massive hall, creatures from across the galaxy sat in their floating chairs and energy pods. Some had too many arms. Others had no arms at all. A few were just balls of light that spoke through machines. But they all had one thing in common today. They were all laughing. Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the alien station grow larger on his screen. The Defiant Dawn was not a pretty ship. It was made of gray metal and had sharp edges. Compared to the smooth, shining vessels around the station, it looked like a chunk of rock. But Do-hyun did not care what it looked like. He cared about what it could do. "Captain," said Hyojin from her seat at the weapons station. She was young, but smart. Her fingers danced over the controls as she ran checks on their systems. "We are getting close to their space station. Should I power up our defenses?" "Not yet," Do-hyun replied. He kept his voice calm. "Let them think we are just peaceful visitors." At the engineering station, Sungmin looked up from his displays. He was the ship's engineer and the best one Earth had ever trained. "Sir, their scanning beams are all over us. They are trying to see inside our ship." "Let them look," Do-hyun said with a small smile. "They will only see what we want them to see." Yuri turned from her communication station. She was listening to the alien radio signals. Her face showed surprise and then anger. "Captain, you need to hear this. They are talking about us." "Put it on the speakers," Do-hyun ordered. The bridge filled with strange alien voices. Some clicked like insects. Others made musical sounds. But the translation computers turned their words into something the humans could understand. "Look at that ugly ship," one voice said with amusement. "It looks like they stuck metal pieces together with glue." "How did such a backward species even learn to fly between stars?" another voice asked. "Their ship is so primitive. Maybe we should put them in our zoo," a third voice suggested. The children would love to see real primitive aliens. The laughter that followed made Do-hyun's jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. "Turn it off, Yuri." Jin-woo looked up from his science station. He was the youngest member of the crew, but also the smartest. "Captain, I have been studying their technology. They are very advanced in some ways, but they have weaknesses too." "What kind of weaknesses?" Do-hyun asked. "They rely too much on energy shields and plasma weapons," Jin-woo explained. "I do not think they have fought against solid projectile weapons for a very long time, maybe never." Do-hyun nodded. This was useful information. "Keep studying them. Learn everything you can." On the alien station, the Galactic Council was having the time of their lives. They had not seen such an amusing sight in years. The human ship looked so old and ugly compared to their beautiful vessels. Veltar was the speaker of the council. He was a large creature with 6 arms and a voice like grinding metal. His species, the hegemony, had conquered dozens of worlds. They were the strongest military force in this part of the galaxy. Veltar stood up in his floating chair and spoke to the other council members. "Look at this pathetic ship," he said, pointing at the display showing the Defiant Dawn. "These humans think they can just fly into our space and demand to talk with us as equals." The other aliens made sounds of agreement. Some clicked their mandibles. Others flashed their lights in patterns that meant amusement. "What should we do? With them?" asked Thais, a snake-like creature from the Vortani Empire. "Should we destroy them now or play with them first?" "Oh, let us play with them," said Korath, a being made of living crystal. "It has been so boring lately. We have not had new slaves in months." Veltar's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. "Yes, we shall follow the usual procedure. First we inspect their ship, then we tell them they must serve us. If they refuse, we destroy them. If they agree, we put them to work in the mines." The council had done this many times before. When new species entered their space, they had 2 choices: become servants of the council or die. Most chose to serve. A few chose to die. But the result was always the same. The council grew stronger and richer. "Send them the standard greeting," Veltar ordered. "Tell them to prepare for inspection." Back on the Defiant Dawn, Yuri received the alien message. She read it twice before speaking. "Captain, They are demanding that we submit to inspection. They want us to shut down our weapons and engines. They say it is for our own safety. Do-hyun almost laughed. For our safety? How kind of them. He looked around at his crew. These were good people. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they might never see Earth again. What do you think, people? Should we do what they ask? Hell no, Hyejin said immediately. Sir, I have been reading about what happened to other species that came here. The peaceful ones are all gone. The proud ones are working as slaves. The Kalari tried to negotiate, Jinwoo added, reading from his files. The council made them mine dangerous crystals until their whole species died out. The Zephyrians were warriors, but they surrendered when the council threatened their homeworld. Now they work in the council's factories. Sungmin looked up from his engine controls. Sir, this ship was not built to surrender. Earth sent us here to make contact, but they also gave us the tools to fight if we had to. Do-hyun felt proud of his crew. They were scared, but they were not going to give up without a fight. Yuri, send them a reply. Tell them we accept their invitation to talk. But we keep our weapons powered and our engines running. Sir, they will not like that, Yuri warned. Good, Do-hyun said. I want them to know we are not like the others. The message went out across space. On the alien station, Veltar read it and felt something he had not felt in years. Surprise. They refused? He asked, reading the message again. They actually refused a direct order from the Galactic Council? Maybe they did not understand, suggested Theis. These primitive species sometimes have trouble with our language. No, Veltar said slowly. They understood perfectly. Look at their exact words. He read the human message aloud. We thank the Galactic Council for their invitation. We look forward to peaceful discussions. However, we will maintain our ship's defensive capabilities as is standard practice for any sovereign vessel. The chamber fell silent. No species had ever called themselves sovereign in council space. That word meant they thought they were equals, not servants. Sovereign? Korath's crystal body flashed angry red. Do they think they are our equals? This is amusing, Veltar said, but his voice had a dangerous edge now. They think their little metal ship makes them strong enough to talk back to us. What are your orders, Speaker? Asked General Threx, the military commander of the station. Veltar thought for a moment. This could be interesting. It had been too long since anyone had shown such foolish courage. Send 3 honor guard ships to escort them in. Make sure they understand that resistance is not an option. Just 3 ships? Threx asked. For a potentially hostile contact? General, look at their vessel. Veltar pointed at the screen. It is barely larger than our shuttlecraft. 3 honor guard ships could destroy 100 ships like that. This is not a military operation. This is a lesson. As the 3 alien warships moved toward the defiant dawn, Do-hyun watched them approach on his screen. Each one was twice the size of his ship and glowed with the energy of powerful weapons. Impressive, he said calmly. But size is not everything. Captain, Hyejin said, those ships could probably destroy us with 1 shot. Probably, Do-hyun agreed. If they hit us, and if their weapons work the way they expect them to, he turned to his crew. Remember, we are not here to start a war, but we are also not here to become slaves. Stay alert and be ready for anything. The alien escort ships took positions around the defiant dawn. Their captains sent mocking messages about the ugly human ship and its primitive crew. But Do-hyun did not respond to their insults. He just smiled and waited. Soon, he thought, they would learn that humans did not give up easily. And sometimes, the smallest ship could carry the biggest surprises. War Commander Threx was not happy. He sat in his command chair aboard the warship Eternal Fury and stared at the human vessel on his screen. This was supposed to be an easy assignment. Escort 1 small alien ship to the station. Show them how powerful the council was. Maybe fire a warning shot if they got too brave. But instead, he was babysitting what looked like a flying piece of junk. The human ship was ugly and old-looking. Its metal hull was scarred and dented, compared to his sleek warship with its glowing energy shields and plasma cannons. The human vessel looked like a child's toy. "Sir," said his weapons officer, "should we target their engines? One shot would disable them completely." "No," Threx replied with annoyance. "The Council wants them brought in alive. They think these humans might be amusing." He leaned back in his chair. "Besides, look at their ship. What could they possibly do to us?" The 3 Council warships moved in a triangle formation around the Defiant Dawn. Each ship was armed with enough firepower to level a city. Their shields could stop almost any weapon. Their crews had fought in dozens of battles across the galaxy. But the human ship just flew calmly between them, following their course toward the station. It did not try to run. It did not send messages begging for mercy. It just stayed quiet and kept flying. On the Defiant Dawn, Heejin was very busy. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel as she scanned the alien ships. Her screen showed detailed information about their weapons, shields, and engines. "Captain," she said quietly, "I am reading their ship designs. These aliens are very advanced, but they have some interesting weaknesses." "What kind of weaknesses?" Do-hyun asked, keeping his voice low. "Their plasma weapons are very powerful," Ye-jin explained, "but they take a lot of energy, and their shields are designed to stop energy attacks. I do not think they expect anyone to use solid projectiles anymore." Sung-min looked up from his engineering station. "Sir, I have been analyzing their energy signatures. Their main power lines run along the outside of their hulls. They probably do that because it is more efficient, but it also makes them vulnerable." "Vulnerable to what?" Do-hyun asked. "To anything that can punch through their outer hull," Sung-min said with a small grin. "Like our railguns." Jin-woo turned from his science station. "Captain, I have been studying the history of this sector. These aliens have not fought a real war in over 200 years. They just intimidate new species into surrendering." "So they are out of practice," Do-hyun said thoughtfully. "Very out of practice," Jin-woo confirmed. "And they all use the same basic ship designs, same weapons, same shields, same tactics." Yuri was listening to the alien communications again. "Sir, they are talking about us again. They think this is funny. One of them said we look like we built our ship out of spare parts." "In a way we did," Do-hyun said with amusement. "But our spare parts came from the best military factories on Earth." The truth was that the Defiant Dawn was not as primitive as it looked. Its hull was made of the strongest materials Earth could produce. Its weapons were designed by military engineers who had studied every known alien technology. Its computers were running programs that could hack almost any system in the galaxy. But most importantly, its crew was trained for war. Real war, not the easy conquests the Council was used to. "Yuri," Do-hyun said, "start passive scanning of their communication systems. I want to know how their ships talk to each other." "Already on it, sir," Yuri replied. "Their encryption is actually pretty basic. I think I can break into their comm systems if I need to." "Good. Sung-min, how are our special weapons?" "Ready when you are, sir," Sung-min said. "The EMP mines are loaded and the railguns are charged. Our missile tubes are loaded with the new Hunter-Seeker warheads. And our secret weapon?" Sung-min's grin got bigger. "The kinetic bombardment system is online and ready. Earth's finest surprise waiting for the right moment." Do-hyun nodded. Earth had sent them into space with the best weapons human science could build. But they had also taught them when to use those weapons. The plan was to try peaceful contact first. But if the aliens wanted a fight, humanity was ready to give them one. On the Council station, Veltar was growing impatient. The human ship was taking too long to arrive. He wanted to get this inspection over with so he could move on to more important matters. "How much longer?" he asked his aide. "The escort will arrive in 30 minutes, Speaker," the aide replied. "Good. Have the inspection teams ready. I want to see what technology these primitives have. Maybe we can use it for something." The inspection teams were already gathering in the station's docking bay. They carried scanning equipment and recording devices. Their job was to catalog everything on the human ship and decide what was valuable. but they were not expecting to find much. The ship looked so primitive that most of them thought this would be a waste of time. "Look at the readings," said Chief Inspector Vorth, a tall alien with 4 eyes. "Their hull is just metal. No energy shielding, no bioarmor, no quantum plating, just plain metal. And their weapons," added technical analyst Kex. "They appear to be projectile-based. We have not seen projectile weapons in this sector for centuries." "Maybe they will have some interesting art or music," suggested cultural specialist Nim. "Primitive species sometimes create amusing cultural artifacts." They all laughed at this. The idea that these backward humans could have anything valuable was ridiculous. But on the Defiant Dawn, the crew was making final preparations. Do-hyun called them together for a quick meeting. "Listen carefully," he said. "In a few minutes we will dock with their station. Some of us will go aboard for the inspection. The rest will stay here and be ready." "Ready for what?" Hae-jin asked. "For whatever happens next," Do-hyun replied. "These aliens think they can intimidate us into becoming their servants. They have done this to dozens of other species. But they have never met humans before. What if they just try to destroy us?" Yuri asked. "Then we show them what human military engineering can do," Do-hyun said firmly. "But I hope it does not come to that. War should always be the last choice." Sungmin raised his hand. "Sir, what if they separate us? What if they take you and the others prisoner while I stay here alone?" Do-hyun smiled. "Sungmin, you are the best engineer Earth ever trained. If anyone can handle this ship alone, it is you. Besides, you will not be really alone." "What do you mean?" "I mean that this ship has some features that even the aliens do not know about. Features that will help you if things go wrong." The Defiant Dawn finally reached the Council Station. The massive structure was 10 times larger than any space station humans had ever built. It glowed with energy shields and bristled with weapons. Thousands of alien ships moved around it like insects around a hive. "Incoming message," Yuri reported. "Put it on speaker," Do-hyun ordered. A harsh alien voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, this is station control. You will dock at Bay 77. Your crew will submit to inspection. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." Do-hyun picked up his communication device. "Station control, this is Captain Do-hyun of the Earth vessel Defiant Dawn. We agree to dock and participate in your inspection process. However, we maintain our right to defend ourselves if threatened." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice came back, sounding confused and annoyed. "Human vessel, you do not have any rights in Council space. You will comply with all orders or face the consequences." "We will comply with reasonable requests," Do-hyun replied calmly. "But we are not your servants." Another pause. This time, Do-hyun could hear angry alien voices arguing in the background. Finally, the voice returned. "Dock at Bay 77 immediately. Any further delays will be considered hostile action." "Understood," Do-hyun said. "Docking now." As the Defiant Dawn moved toward the docking bay, Do-hyun looked at his crew one more time. "Remember, we are representatives of Earth and humanity. Whatever happens, we make sure the galaxy knows that humans do not kneel to anyone." "Yes, sir," they all replied. The ship settled into the docking bay with a soft thud. Through the windows they could see alien inspection teams waiting for them. The aliens looked confident and bored, like they had done this 1,000 times before. But they had never done it with humans. And humans, Do-hyun thought with grim satisfaction, were about to teach the galaxy a very important lesson about underestimating Earth's children. The docking bay of the Council Station was enormous. The Defiant Dawn looked tiny sitting in the middle of the vast space. Around the human ship, dozens of alien inspection teams waited with their scanning equipment and recording devices. Do-hyun walked down the ship's ramp with Hee-jin, Yuri, and Jinwoo beside him. They wore their best uniforms and kept their faces calm, but their hands stayed close to their sidearms. Behind them, Sungmin remained on the ship as planned. "Chief Inspector, Vorth approached them with his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. He was tall and thin with purple skin and too many joints in his arms. I am Chief Inspector Vorth. You will follow me to the inspection chamber. Lead the way, Do-hyun said politely. As they walked through the station's corridors, Yuri whispered into her hidden communicator. Sungmin, can you hear me? Back on the ship, Sungmin sat alone on the bridge. The alien inspection teams were crawling all over his ship, scanning everything with their devices. But they did not understand what they were really looking at. I hear you, Yuri, he whispered back. The aliens are all over the ship, but they think our weapons are just simple metal tubes. They have no idea what our railguns can really do. Good, Yuri replied quietly. Stay ready. The inspection chamber was a huge room in the center of the station. It looked like an arena with seats rising up on all sides. In those seats sat the members of the Galactic Council. Hundreds of different alien species watched as the humans were brought to the center of the room. Do-hyun looked around at all the strange creatures staring down at him. Some had too many eyes. Others had no eyes at all. A few were just floating balls of light. But they all had the same expression on their faces. Amusement. Veltar stood up in his floating chair. His 6 arms spread wide as he spoke. Welcome, humans, to the Galactic Council. I am Speaker Veltar of the Hegemony. We have brought you here to explain how things work in our galaxy. We are honored to meet you, Do-hyun replied. I am Captain Do-hyun of Earth. We hope for peaceful relations between our peoples. The chamber filled with alien laughter. Clicking sounds, musical notes, and strange vibrations echoed off the walls. Peaceful. Relations? Veltar said with amusement. How charming. You still think you have a choice in the matter? Everyone has choices, Do-hyun said calmly. Not in our galaxy, Veltar replied. His voice became cold and hard. Here is how things work. Human. Your species has 2 options. You can serve the council willingly, or you can serve the council unwillingly. Those are your only choices. What if we choose neither? Hyejin asked. The laughter got louder. Several aliens made sounds that their translators turned into words, like adorable and so naive. If you choose neither, Veltar said, then you die. Your ship is destroyed, your homeworld is conquered, and your species becomes extinct. We have done this many times before. Jinwoo stepped forward. What happened to the Kalari? The laughter stopped. Veltar's mandibles clicked with annoyance. The Kalari chose to resist. They are extinct now. Their homeworld is a mining colony. And the Zephyrians, Yuri asked? They work in our factories, Veltar said. They build ships for the council fleet. And the Melodians? Do-hyun asked quietly. They mine crystals on Titan 7, Veltar replied. What is left of them? Do-hyun felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. So you conquer peaceful species and turn them into slaves. We bring order to the galaxy, Veltar said. We end wars and create peace. By destroying anyone who disagrees with you. By showing them the benefits of cooperation, Veltar corrected. Your species can benefit too, if you are wise. Do-hyun looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. They expected him to give up now. They thought he would beg for mercy or try to negotiate better terms for humanity's slavery. Instead, he smiled. I have a counter-proposal, he said. The chamber erupted in laughter again. Even Veltar seemed amused by this. Primitive creatures always try to bargain, Veltar said. Very well, entertain us. What could your backward species possibly offer? Do-hyun's smile got wider. Nothing. The laughter stopped. Confused alien voices murmured throughout the chamber. Nothing? Veltar asked. That is right, Do-hyun said. We offer you nothing, but we can show you what you will lose if you try to take what is ours. Before anyone could react, Do-hyun pressed a hidden button on his belt. The signal raced through space to the defiant dawn. On the ship, Sungmin received the signal and smiled. Finally, he said to himself, time to show these aliens what human engineering can do. The alien inspection teams were still crawling over the ship when Sungmin activated the first surprise. Every scanning device they carried suddenly went dead. Their communication equipment stopped working, even their lights went out. "What is happening?" Chief Inspector Vorth demanded, stumbling in the darkness. "Electromagnetic pulse," Sungmin said cheerfully. "Your equipment is not hardened against it like ours is." Before the aliens could respond, Sungmin activated the ship's engines. But these were not ordinary engines. They were human military engines designed to work even when damaged. The Defiant Dawn lifted off from the docking bay floor with the alien inspectors still on board. "Impossible," Vorth shouted. "The docking clamps are still attached." "Not anymore," Sungmin replied. The ship's emergency release systems had cut through the alien docking clamps like they were made of paper. In the inspection chamber, alarms began wailing. Veltar's aide rushed to his chair and whispered urgently in his ear. "What do you mean?" "The human ship is moving," Veltar roared. "Nothing can break our docking clamps." "Apparently our ship can," Do-hyun said calmly. On the station's command center screens, War Commander Threx watched in disbelief as the human ship rose from the docking bay. "How is this possible? Their engines should not have enough power to break free." "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "the human ship is not showing up on our scanners anymore." "What do you mean?" "I mean it just disappeared, sir. One moment it was there, the next moment it was gone." Threx stared at his empty screens. "Nothing can disappear from our sensors. Nothing." But the Defiant Dawn had not really disappeared. It had just activated its stealth systems. Human engineers had studied every known scanning technology in the galaxy and designed countermeasures for all of them. "There!" the sensor officer shouted suddenly. "It just appeared behind Honor Guard Ship 3. On his screen, Threx watched as the human ship materialized directly behind one of his escort vessels. The escort ship, commanded by Captain Zaris, was still trying to figure out what was happening when Heejin's voice came over the communication system. "This is Lieutenant Heejin of the Earth vessel Defiant Dawn." Her voice was calm and professional. "To the crew of the alien vessel in front of us, you have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender." Captain Zaris laughed. "Surrender? To you? You are outnumbered 3-1. 20 seconds, Heejin replied. "Your primitive weapons cannot hurt our shields," Zaris boasted. 10 seconds. Zaris opened fire with his plasma cannons. Bright energy beams lanced toward the human ship, but the beams struck armor that had been designed specifically to absorb energy weapons. The Defiant Dawn's hull glowed red-hot but did not break. "Impossible," Zaris screamed. "Nothing can survive a direct hit from our main guns." "Time's up," Heejin said. The Defiant Dawn's railguns fired. Unlike the alien energy weapons, these guns shot solid metal projectiles at incredible speed. The projectiles punched through the alien ship's energy shields like they were not even there. They struck the power conduits that Sungmin had identified. Earlier, Captain Zaris watched in horror as his ship's lights went out. His engines stopped. His weapons powered down. In less than 5 seconds, his mighty warship had become a floating piece of junk. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No," Sungmin's voice came over the radio. "This is human military engineering." The second escort ship, commanded by Captain Zolt, tried to turn and engage the human vessel. But Zolt had never fought against missiles that could think for themselves. The Defiant Dawn's Hunter-Seeker missiles launched and immediately began, adapting to the alien ship's defensive patterns. Zolt fired his point defense systems, but the missiles simply changed course and approached from different angles. His energy shield stopped the first 2 missiles, but the third one slipped through and struck his engine core. The second escort ship drifted to a stop, dead in space. War Commander Threx stared at his screens in complete shock. In less than 5 minutes, the primitive human ship had disabled 2 of his finest vessels without taking any serious damage. "All ships," he ordered frantically, "converge on the human vessel. Destroy it immediately." But Captain Jack of the third escort ship was not feeling brave anymore. "Sir, maybe we should negotiate. They obviously have weapons we do not understand." "There will be no negotiation," Threx roared. "Destroy them now. Captain Jack reluctantly powered up his weapons and turned toward the human ship. But as he did, he made a fatal mistake. He forgot that humans were very good at learning from their enemies. The Defiant Dawn had been recording everything during the battle. Its computers had analyzed the alien weapons, shields, and tactics. Now it knew exactly how to fight them. "Captain Jack," Sungmin's voice came over the radio. "You might want to check your shield generators." The silence in the inspection chamber was broken by the sound of angry alien voices. Council members who had been laughing just minutes before now spoke in panicked whispers. Their escort fleet was floating dead in space, destroyed by a single, human ship. Veltar stood up from his floating chair, all 6 of his arms trembling with rage. "You dare attack Council forces? This is an act of war." "No," Do-hyun replied calmly. "This is an act of self-defense. Your ships fired first. You destroyed 3 warships." "We disabled 3 warships," Do-hyun corrected. "Their crews are alive. If we wanted to destroy them, they would be dead." This was true. The human weapons had been carefully aimed to disable the alien ships without killing their crews. But the aliens did not understand this. In their experience, space battles always ended with death and destruction. Admiral Corvin of the Hegemony military stood up in his section of the chamber. He was a massive creature with thick armor plating and scars from many battles. "Speaker, Feltar, let me take the station's defense fleet and crush this insolent human ship." "How many ships?" Feltar asked. 12 heavy battle cruisers, Corvin replied with confidence. "Each one is 5 times larger than their pathetic vessel. We will blow them to atoms." Do-hyun was still connected to his ship through his hidden communicator. He could hear Sung-min working at the ship's controls and Hye-jin preparing the weapon systems. "Sung-min," he whispered, "can you hear me?" "Yes, Captain," came the quiet reply. "The aliens are moving 12 large warships toward us, much bigger than the escorts we just fought. Are you ready?" "Ready as we can be, sir, but those ships pack a lot of firepower. Remember the plan?" "Pattern 7, sir. I remember." Do-hyun turned back to face Veltar. "Admiral Corvin is welcome to try, but I should warn you, our ship has more surprises. Your primitive weapons cannot hurt our battle cruisers," Corvin boasted. "They have shields that can stop anything." "We shall see," Do-hyun said quietly. On the station's command deck, War Commander Threx watched the fleet of battle cruisers move toward the human ship. These were the pride of the Council military. Each ship carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Their crews had conquered star systems. "Admiral Corvin," Threx spoke into his communicator, "be careful. This human ship is not what it appears to be." "Relax, Commander," Corvin's voice came back. "I have been fighting space battles since before you were born. One small ship cannot stand against 12 battle cruisers." But as the fleet approached the Defiant Dawn, strange things began to happen. The human ship started moving in ways that should have been impossible. It accelerated directly toward the much larger alien vessels instead of trying to run away. "Sir," reported Corvin's sensor officer, "the human ship is heading straight for us." "Excellent," Corvin said. "They want to die quickly. All ships, target the human vessel. Fire when ready." 12 battle cruisers opened fire at the same time. The space around the Defiant Dawn filled with deadly plasma beams. Any normal ship would have been vaporized instantly, but the human ship did not vaporize. Its strange metal armor absorbed the energy attacks just like before. The hull glowed, white-hot but did not break apart. "Impossible," Corvin roared. "All ships increase power, maximum firepower." The plasma beams got brighter and hotter. The human ship was taking tremendous damage, but it kept flying straight toward the alien. "Fleet, sir," Corvin's weapons officer called out. "The human ship is deploying something. Small objects are separating from their hull." "Escape pods?" Corvin wondered. "Are they abandoning ship?" "No, sir. The objects are too small for escape pods." On the Defiant Dawn, Sungmin was very busy. His fingers flew over his controls as he deployed the ship's secret weapons. "Pattern 7 is go," he reported to Do-hyun. "Mines deployed and running silent." The objects the aliens had detected were electromagnetic pulse mines. Human engineers had designed them to be almost invisible to alien sensors. They looked like space debris until they were activated. All ships, maintain formation, Corvin ordered. Continue firing until that ship is destroyed. But maintaining formation was exactly what Sung Min was counting on. The 12 battle cruisers were flying close together to concentrate their firepower. This made them perfect targets for what came next. Activating mines, Sung Min whispered. 3, 2, 1, mark. The EMP mines exploded all at the same time, but they did not create normal explosions with fire and debris. Instead, they released powerful electromagnetic pulses that scrambled electronic systems. 12 battle cruisers suddenly found their shields failing. Their weapons powered down. Their engines sputtered and died. The pride of the Council fleet was floating helpless. In space, what happened? Corvin demanded, but his ship's communication system was not working properly. EMP attack, his chief engineer reported. All our systems are rebooting. It will take several minutes to restore full power. Several minutes was more time than they had on the station. Every alien in the command center watched their screens in shock. The most powerful fleet in the sector had just been disabled by a few small mines. How is this possible? Threx whispered. His sensor officer was staring at his displays with wide eyes. Sir, the human ship is opening weapon ports. I am detecting some kind of kinetic launch system. Kinetic? Threx asked in confusion. You mean projectile weapons? Yes, sir. But the energy readings are enormous. I have never seen anything like it. In the inspection chamber, Veltar was receiving reports from his military commanders. His mandibles clicked rapidly as he processed the information. Admiral Corvin, he spoke into his communicator, report your status. Our systems are coming back online, Corvin replied. But slowly. The human EMP attack was more sophisticated than anything we have seen before. Can you still fight? Give us 5 more minutes and we will destroy them. You do not have 5 minutes, Do-hyun said quietly. Veltar spun to face the human captain. What do you mean? Listen, Do-hyun replied. Across the station's communication system, Hee-jin's voice rang out clear and calm. This is Lieutenant Hee-jin of the Earth vessel Defiant Dawn. To the crews of the disabled alien warships, you have fought bravely, but your ships are defenseless. We do not wish to kill you, but we will defend ourselves. You have 60 seconds to abandon ship. Abandon ship? Corvin screamed over the radio. Never. All ships, emergency power to weapons. Destroy that human vessel. 30 seconds. Hee-jin, announced Corvin's weapons officer, looked up from his controls with panic in his eyes. Sir, our main guns are still offline. We cannot fight back. Then we die with honor, Corvin declared. 10 seconds, Hee-jin said. Some of the alien crews began launching escape pods. They had seen what human weapons could do to their ships, and they did not want to die for nothing. Time's up, Hee-jin announced. The Defiant Dawn's secret weapon finally revealed itself. Hidden along the ship's hull were kinetic bombardment systems that could accelerate small projectiles to enormous speeds. These were not the railguns the aliens had seen before. These were humanity's most advanced weapons. The first projectile struck Admiral Corvin's flagship. It was just a small piece of metal, but it was moving at a significant fraction of light. Speed. When it hit the battlecruiser's hull, the kinetic energy turned the entire ship into an expanding cloud of debris. Admiral Corvin's last transmission was a single word: impossible. The second and third projectiles destroyed 2 more battlecruisers. The remaining ships tried desperately to restore power to their engines so they could escape, but human weapons were faster than alien repairs. One by one, the pride of the Council fleet was systematically destroyed. The ships that had conquered star systems were turned into floating wreckage by a single human vessel. In the command center, War Commander Threx watched his entire fleet disappear from his screens. This cannot be happening, he whispered. Sir, his communications officer reported, we are receiving surrender requests from the remaining ships. They want to abandon their vessels. Threx felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career: fear. Real, cold fear. Let them go, he said quietly. Tell them to abandon ship. On the defiant dawn, Sungmin watched the alien escape pods fleeing from their doomed ships. Captain, he reported. 11 battlecruisers destroyed. 1 battlecruiser surrendering. The alien fleet has been eliminated. In the inspection chamber, the council members sat in stunned silence. Their most powerful military force had just been destroyed by a ship they had mocked as primitive. Veltar's voice was barely a whisper. How? How is this possible? Do-hyun looked around the chamber at all the alien faces staring at him. They were not laughing anymore. They were afraid. You made a mistake, he said calmly. You assumed that because we look different, we must be weak. You thought that because our technology appears primitive, it must be inferior. Your weapons are primitive, Veltar insisted, but his voice shook. Yes, they are, Do-hyun agreed. But primitive does not mean weak. Humans learned to fight wars long before we learned to fly between stars. We have been perfecting the art of warfare for thousands of years. He walked closer to Veltar's floating chair. You aliens have had peace for so long that you forgot what real war looks like. But humans remember. We remember because we had to fight for everything we ever achieved. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so quiet. Hundreds of alien beings sat frozen in their seats, staring down at the lone human who had just watched his ship destroy their most powerful fleet. The screens around the chamber showed nothing but floating debris where 12 mighty warships had been just minutes before. Veltar's 6 arms trembled as he tried to process what had happened. His species, the hegemony, had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. They had never been defeated in battle. They had never even been seriously challenged, until now. This is impossible, he whispered, but even he did not believe his own words anymore. Do-hyun stood calmly in the center of the chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. His uniform was neat and clean, showing no sign of the stress he had been under. To the watching aliens, he looked like a man who had just won a simple game, rather than destroyed an entire fleet. You keep saying that word, Do-hyun said with amusement. Impossible, but you are seeing the results with your own eyes. You destroyed 11 warships, Veltar accused, his voice rising in pitch. We defended ourselves against hostile forces, Do-hyun corrected. Your Admiral Corvin refused our offer to surrender peacefully. We gave his crews every chance to escape before we fired. This was true, and the aliens knew it. Many of them had listened to the communications between the human ship and the doomed fleet. The humans had followed the rules of warfare better than the Council's own forces. War Commander Threx's voice came over the communication system, filled with defeat. Speaker Veltar, the station's defense grid has been neutralized. What do? You mean neutralized? Veltar demanded. The human ship has somehow disabled our weapons. We cannot fight back even if we wanted to. In the chamber, several alien representatives began whispering urgently among themselves. If the station could not defend itself, they were all at the mercy of the humans. Do-hyun smiled slightly. Yuri has been very busy while we talked. She has been exploring your computer systems. That is impossible, Veltar said automatically, then caught himself. I mean, our systems are heavily protected. Against other alien technology, yes, Do-hyun agreed. But human computer science developed differently than yours. We had to learn to fight against artificial intelligences that wanted to destroy us. Your security systems are not designed to stop human hackers. The truth was that Yuri had not actually disabled the station's weapons. She had simply convinced the computer systems that the weapons were already disabled. It was a much simpler approach than actually breaking the alien technology. What do you want? Asked Tis, the snake-like representative from the Vortani Empire. Her voice was carefully controlled, but Do-hyun could hear the fear underneath. That is a good question, Do-hyun replied. What we want is very simple. We want the right to exist without being threatened or enslaved. You have that right, Veltar said quickly. The Council recognizes your species as an independent power. Do we? Do-hyun asked. Because just an hour ago you told me that we had only two choices: serve willingly or serve unwillingly. Veltar's mandibles clicked nervously. That was before we understood your capabilities. So you only respect strength? Do-hyun asked. You only negotiate with those who can hurt you? The chamber fell silent again. The aliens knew that Do-hyun was right, but none of them wanted to admit it. Let me tell you something about the species you have been enslaving, Do-hyun continued. I have been reading your historical records while we talked. The Kalari were scientists and explorers. They could have shared knowledge that would have advanced your civilization by centuries. Instead, you worked them to death in your minds. Several alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Zephyrians were warriors and artists. They could have been valuable allies in defending this sector against external threats. Instead, you turned them into factory workers. They resisted our authority, Veltar said defensively. They defended their freedom, Do-hyun corrected. Just like we are doing now. Jinwoo stepped forward and handed Do-hyun a data tablet. Captain, the historical analysis is complete. Do-hyun looked at the tablet and nodded. Thank you, Jinwoo. He turned back to face the council. This is very interesting reading. According to your own records, you have enslaved or destroyed 47 different species over the last 1,000 years. We brought order to the galaxy, Veltar insisted. You brought tyranny, Do-hyun replied. You created a system where might makes right and the strong prey on the weak. And what would you have us do? Asked Korath, the crystalline being whose body was flashing angry red patterns. Release all the slave species? Abandon our colonies? Destroy our civilization? I would have you do what humans learn to do, Do-hyun said. Learn to cooperate instead of dominate. Impossible, Veltar said automatically, then winced as he realized he had used that word again. Do-hyun smiled. There is that word again. Let me show you something that might change your mind. He pressed a button on his communicator. Sungmin, please transmit the Earth historical files. On screens throughout the chamber, images began to appear. They showed human cities, human technology, and human achievements. But they also showed something else. They showed humans working together. This is our homeworld, Do-hyun explained. Earth. 500 years ago, our species was divided into hundreds of different nations. We fought constant wars against each other. We enslaved each other just like you enslave other species. The images showed human conflicts, human suffering, and human cruelty. But we learned, Do-hyun continued. We learned that cooperation was stronger than domination. We learned that diversity made us stronger, not weaker. We learned that the best way to have power was to share it. New images appeared showing humans of different races and cultures working together on great projects. Space stations, starships, scientific discoveries. You could have this too, Do-hyun said to the watching aliens. All of you. Instead of fighting each other for scraps, you could work together to build something greater. Pretty words, Veltar said bitterly. But you still have only one ship. How can one ship change an entire galactic civilization? Do-hyun's smile became wider. Who said we only have one ship? The chamber erupted in confused alien voices. Veltar leaned forward in his chair. What do you mean? I mean that the Defiant, Dawn is not humanity's only vessel, Do-hyun said calmly. It is our first vessel to reach this sector, but it is not our last. He pressed another button on his communicator. Yuri, please show them the long-range sensor data. New images appeared on the screens. They showed space near the edge of the star system. At first, the aliens could not see anything unusual. Then, the images zoomed in and enhanced. There, barely visible against the background of stars, were more ships. Many more ships. How many? This whispered. Enough, Do-hyun replied simply. The truth was that Earth had built a fleet of 1,000 ships before sending them to the stars. The Defiant Dawn was just the scout vessel, sent ahead to make contact and assess the situation. The rest of the fleet was waiting just outside the star system for Do-hyun's signal. This changes nothing, Veltar said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Council has thousands of ships across dozens of star systems. Had, Do-hyun corrected. You had thousands of ships. But how many of those ships are crewed by species that hate you? How many of those crews would switch sides if they thought they had a chance to be free? The silence that followed was deafening. Every alien in the chamber knew that Do-hyun was right. The Council's military was made up largely of enslaved species, who served only because they had no choice. What do you propose? Asked Executor Vrim of the Vortani. A new system, Do-hyun said. Instead of the Galactic Council, we create the Galactic Trade Confederation. Every species gets an equal vote. No more slave labor, no more conquered worlds, just free beings working together for mutual benefit. And if we refuse? Veltar asked. Do-hyun shrugged. Then you refuse. But the enslaved species will not refuse, and they outnumber you 10-1. Around the chamber, representatives from the enslaved species began to stir. For the first time in centuries, they were hearing someone offer them hope. The Kalari survivors wish to speak, said a small mouse-like being who had been silent throughout the proceedings. The Kalari are extinct, Veltar said quickly. No, the small being replied. We are not extinct. We are hiding. We have been waiting for someone to give us hope. The Zephyrians also survive, added a proud-looking bird-like creature. We remember our freedom. We have never stopped dreaming of it. More voices joined in. Species that the Council thought were broken or destroyed revealed that they had been preparing for this moment. Veltar looked around the chamber and realized that his empire was already crumbling. The humans had not conquered it with weapons. They had destroyed it with something much more powerful. They had given the enslaved species hope. How do we know you will not just become new masters? Veltar asked desperately. Because, Do-hyun said, humans learned that true strength comes from lifting others up, not pushing them down. He walked over to where Hyejin, Yuri, and Jinwoo were standing. My crew and I are just 5 people from one small planet. But we represent something that your council forgot how to do. We represent the power.